Time is such a strange concept, isn't it? We all experience it, but the more you think about it, the harder it becomes to define. It feels like something we should understand. It's everywhere, after all. Clocks tick, days pass, seasons change. But when you really stop to think about it, what is time? Is it something real and tangible, or just a way for us to make sense of the world? Let's slow down for a moment and wonder about it together. At its simplest, time seems like the progression of events. The past becomes the present, and the present becomes the future. But it's not that simple, is it? Physics tells us that time is tied to space, that it's not separate from the universe but part of it, like a thread woven into a larger fabric. Einstein's theories turned our understanding of time upside down. He showed us that time isn't fixed. It stretches and bends depending on things like gravity or how fast you're moving. It's strange to think about, isn't it? That time for someone standing on Earth could be moving slightly differently than time for someone flying through space. There's this idea called time dilation. If you're near something with immense gravity like a black hole, time slows down, and if you're moving close to the speed of light, the same thing happens. It sounds like science fiction, but it's been measured. Astronauts in space, traveling fast around the Earth, age just a tiny bit slower than the rest of us. It's fascinating and a little unsettling to think that something we treat as constant is actually so flexible. But maybe time isn't real at all. Some physicists argue that it's just an illusion, a way our brains make sense of the universe. Without consciousness to observe it, would time even exist? Maybe it's not a fundamental part of reality, but just a byproduct of how we experience the world. If you could somehow step outside of the universe, would you see time flowing, or would everything just be? What's even stranger is how we perceive time. It doesn't feel constant, does it? Think about how a minute can feel like forever when you're waiting for something, but hours can vanish in an instant when you're deeply focused. It's like time speeds up or slows down depending on what we're doing. Our brains aren't clocks. They don't measure time objectively. Instead, they fill in the gaps, piece things together, and create this strange, fluid experience we call the passage of time. When you're young, everything feels slower, doesn't it? Summers seem endless, days stretch on forever. But as you get older, the years start to fly by. Psychologists think this has to do with novelty. When you're young, everything is new, so your brain is constantly creating rich, detailed memories. As you age, life becomes more routine and time seems to compress. Days blur together. It's a little sad, in a way, but it also makes those moments that break the routine feel so much more precious. And then there's culture. The way we think about time isn't universal. It changes depending on where and when you live. In many Western societies, time is seen as linear. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Deadlines, schedules, calendars. Time is treated like a resource, something you can spend, waste, or lose. But not everyone sees it that way. In some cultures, time is circular, tied to natural cycles like the seasons. There's no rush because everything will come back around eventually. It's a completely different way of being, one that feels slower, more connected. What about time travel? It's such a captivating idea, isn't it? The thought of stepping into a machine and visiting the past or the future. According to physics, traveling into the future is theoretically possible. If you could move close to the speed of light, time would slow down for you. When you stopped, everyone else would have aged more than you. Astronauts already experience this, though on such a small scale that it's imperceptible. Traveling into the past, though, that's where things get tricky. It seems to break the laws of physics as we understand them. And then there are the paradoxes. If you went back in time and changed something, what would happen to the present? It's fun to think about, even if we're nowhere near making it a reality. There's something deeply emotional about time. It's not just a scientific concept. It shapes our lives in ways that are hard to put into words. Time gives us structure, but it also brings loss. The past slips further away and the future looms, uncertain and full of possibility. We try to hold on to it to make it matter, through art, stories, achievements, but time keeps moving, no matter what we do. And yet maybe that's what makes it beautiful. If everything lasted forever, would anything really matter? The fleeting nature of time gives meaning to the moments we have. It's why we treasure memories, why we plan for the future, why we try, imperfectly, to live in the present. Time is so many things at once. It's a scientific puzzle, a philosophical mystery, an emotional experience. It's something we can measure with incredible precision and something we can never fully grasp. Maybe we're not meant to. Maybe the best thing we can do is appreciate the moments we're given, even as they slip away. What do you think? Is time a mystery to be solved, or is it something to simply embrace? Either way, it's worth wondering about.